Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then my name is Rosie. This is going to be hopefully a pretty quick video just about how I chose my accommodation and give you a few tips on what to look out for when choosing yours. I am a recent graduate, so I've been through all of this and I'm now applying for graduate accommodation. During my undergrad, I didn't have to choose accommodation, we were just kind of given it in first year, so I didn't have that to worry about. But now I am applying for accommodation and I have come up with this weird table. So I've done it this way. I've essentially drawn it all out. This is my actual table for choosing accommodation that I did. And so basically I've got all of these columns. That's all of the names of the accommodation that are owned by the university that are nearby. And then I had different categories, so I basically had name, how much it costs per week, the size, whether it's an ensuite or a shared bathroom, whether it's got a shared kitchen, and if so, between how many people, and then also how much it costs per year. So I just timesed the rent per week by how many weeks we have to pay on the lease. So I thought that those things were important just from being at uni for 3 years. I have to say personally that an ensuite it's not particularly important. I was just judging how much things cost and whether it was good value for money, if there was a lot of difference or something like that. So yeah, just a first tip, I wouldn't prioritise getting an ensuite unless you were really particular about things being a certain way, then maybe consider it. But in terms of whether it's worth the extra money, I don't think it is. Maybe in your final year when you're really trying to concentrate, it just means you can shower whenever you want to and use the toilet whenever you want to. But in first year, I actually found, this is weird, I actually found that having a shared bathroom kind of helped make friends and break the ice a bit, because the amount of times you would run into people in the corridor would just actually be quite a nice icebreaker. And yes, awkward AF at the time, but it is still breaking the ice, you know. Whereas if you're in an ensuite room, there's always gonna be the trouble of you will never leave your room because you don't have to. You've got your toilet, you've got your shower, you probably learned to eat things without cooking them by this point. So that is one downside to having an ensuite in first year. But again, if a shared toilet is something that's really freaking you out, then it might stress you out more to have one. Saying that, I think most people have a shared toilet anyway, at school and at home, so it's not any different to that. It's not massively disgusting or dirty or anything. I think they usually get cleaned once a week anyway. I know mine did, and mine next year say they all do, so that's good. I have written size down on mine, not because, you know, I want a massive room or I'm really snobby about the size of rooms, more because you don't realise how much stuff you have, and the size of the room can actually make a difference as to what you can take. And I personally need a fridge in my room because I'm really allergic to milk, so I have to have my own storage for my food. So I was looking for a room that could accommodate a fridge, and then, you know, shoes at the side of the room or boxes. Does it have under bed space that you can put things underneath? Does it have shelves? And that all comes into size. And I think a lot of websites have 360-degree tours now of their accommodation, so you can go in and pan round and see what it has to offer quite well on that. If you haven't been to an open day, then I would really consider going to an open day. They're so helpful in terms of actually visualizing what your life is going to be like in that room and where you can put things. But if for some reason you can't get to an open day, then try those 360-degree tours, or check on YouTube whether someone's actually done a room tour video, because a lot of people have. There's quite a lot out there for all different universities. I realise my phone is in the background just on TikTok, so I'm gonna put that aside. Sharing a kitchen is not an issue, and it is something that the vast majority of uni students do. I would really recommend getting a shared kitchen as opposed to a studio, just because it really does help you make friends. Yes, you will probably have to clean it, almost definitely have to clean it, and that in itself is a life skill, because if you haven't learnt to clean yet, then you really should be doing so by now. You know, you can do all sorts in a shared kitchen. You could have prees, you could play cards, you could do jigsaws, I don't know, paint. You can do whatever you want in there, and sometimes leaving the library to work in your shared space is a really nice way of having a day where you're still productive, but it's almost wound down and it's a bit more chill because you're seeing friendly faces and it doesn't feel too pressured. So I would recommend having a shared kitchen. If you email your accommodation manager, and their email address is usually on the website, and if you have any requests about that, like if you've got allergies or accessibility issues, then they do have the power to sort that out, and it's best doing it earlier rather than later before they've allocated accommodation to anybody yet. So yeah, get in contact with them if you have any requests or questions that you would like to know before applying. They're really good. They answered me straight away and said they'll try their best to give me a smaller kitchen. And yeah. Something that perhaps you might not have considered because it's like outside of the room itself. I know I have found this important just because a lot of unis have accommodation miles away from where your department is, and actually what is counted as uni centre might not actually be your department, so you might be miles away. And to check that, you can just find the address on the website and then, you know, Google Maps it, see what things are close to. So on my list I've got like, some of them are close to main buildings, some are close to the sports hall, some are close to labs, bars, and prioritise which one is most important to you. I think one close to the library is useful because it means that you can get up later and get to the library at the same time and stay there later and feel more safe walking back home. Security also is important. You know, what is the actual locking system like? Do they have, are they internal, like with outside walls? Do they have a reception desk with someone manned on it all the time? How do people get in and out? Also insurance, are your rooms insured by the university, or do you have to get your own separate insurance? I think most universities do insure their rooms if they are locked. So yeah, just make sure if you leave your stuff in your room, lock it, otherwise it's unlikely to be insured by the university, and you have to read the small print to get that. So read the leasing small prints for the security, read the actual security small prints, email if you're unsure. You should also be checking whether or not your bills are included, because bills, if they're not included, are quite an expense on top of your weekly rent. I found that out in second year, and I'll be doing a full costings video of how much Oxford cost me throughout my degree. That will be up for you to watch in a few weeks' time and see how much debt I am in. Woohoo! Finally, I said this is going to be a quick video. Good one. I would just check your leasing, because it might shock you how long or how short your lease actually is. Does it run all of the year? Does it run just during term? Do you have breaks where you have to leave your room and take everything with you? And also it affects cost. So the longer you're there, the more expensive it's going to be all year, despite it perhaps being really cheap each week. If you're there for 52 weeks, then it's going to be more expensive than somewhere that's more expensive but only say 30 weeks of the year. So check that out as well. All of that information should be on your website, and if you're unsure, again, I keep saying this, but send an email or phone up. Admissions offices and accommodation offices are so keen to talk to you and answer your questions. Like, that is their job. They're there to talk to incoming students. So yeah, thank you for watching. If this video was helpful at all, then do give me a thumbs up so I know that I am making content is on the right track for you guys, and subscribe if you don't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!